the same. Forget the stars, you're brighter than the moon.
How the Wild started in 2015, and we just kind of kept playing, and we met our manager and got signed to a management company in 2016. Got to play a couple of tours and open up with some like really cool people like We the Kings, Jesse McCartney, Maybe the Disco, all that cool stuff. We got to do that a couple of times, and so we've just been playing and writing. Just dropped our second EP, and now we're working on our first full length.
I'm a talent manager primarily for musicians, although for actors in the beginning of my career as well. Working with Drew Mack, we're wrapping up his second EP now. I'm working with another up-and-coming artist called Gia Woods, who signed over at Sony. For 8 years, I worked at a large talent management company representing people like Britney Spears, Miley Cyrus, Aerosmith, Fifth Harmony, and a bunch of others. Subsequently left to start my own independent management company, where I manage a variety of acts now as well.
I started my recording career in 2012 when I moved to New York City. And then I put out like a little EP. I played it around the city a little bit and did some shows, and then put out a record in early 2015 and started doing my first national tours and things like that. And slowly it's gotten bigger, and it all culminated with the release of a record I put out this April, and then everything came to a screeching halt.
We did a live stream show because it was a fundraiser, because where we're from, Vacaville, California, there was all these fires and stuff going on. So there was like a benefit concert. It was a live stream show. They had all like the sound equipment there. We brought a couple of our instruments. But they had all the sound stuff. They had the camera set up and everything, and they kind of controlled the whole live stream. They just had everything there for us. And it was just kind of like a fancy Facebook Live. They had these like really nice cameras that they were using, almost like you would see like on a TV show, you know, like when they're like filming, it kind of looked like that. And then also like they just had their own like live recording software that they were also running into their computer system that they had just going straight into Facebook. So we just kind of plugged in and played, and they just kind of took care of the rest. It was pretty easy.
We were in New York when the New York lockdown was starting. So for us, it was a matter of, you know, canceling the rest of the tour, canceling our flights and our travel, and getting back to LA as quickly as possible, because at that point, nobody knew, you know, how severe that lockdown in New York was going to be. So that was really the first, I would say, point for a lot of us in the music business where we had folks on tour or doing things that were in person or traveling, that we all had to sort of bring everybody home or send ourselves home.
When the pandemic hit, we were really left with no other option. So the first live stream I did was on the day the album came out. We had a show that we were supposed to do, and obviously it got canceled. So I just was like promoted it a couple days before, and at that moment in the pandemic, everybody was like really excited to just have any sort of human contact. So it was a lot of people watched it. It was really successful. And I honestly thought to myself, like, after we did it, I was like, I don't know why I ever left the house. Usually you have a show and then you travel, so you don't necessarily have to change the show. But on a live stream, it's kind of like the same 100, 120 people tune in. You got to keep coming up with a different show, because I can't just play in Pittsburgh one night and then take it to Cleveland the next night.
Even if you have new things all the time, it's not anything negative about those fans that are tuning in every week, because those are the super fans who we want, you know, we're so grateful for, and we want to be so, you know, generous to, or whatever word you want to use. But, you know, when you do have alternate ideas for things, it's natural for artists to want a wider and wider audience. Like 10, 20, 50 people that you recognize, it makes it tough to want, like, to be putting your best shit out there, because you're like, well, I want 100 people or 500 people or whatever it is.
As summer came upon us and more bands were doing live streams, it kind of got saturated, and I slowed it down. I didn't want to do it necessarily on a webcam or on my phone anymore, so we would bring in a crew, or I would go to a venue. I did that for a couple months, where I would team up with venues. I would either travel there or do them remotely from my house, but stream through the venues' platforms, their socials, their Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. that kind of thing. It feels super weird because often there'll be venues that I've played many times to plenty of people. And now you finish the song and then it's just like silence. So that part of it is weird, but as an independent musician, you kind of have to adapt and change all the time. So it's just the set of challenges that this particular year brings.
It's like a professional rehearsal. Like, it's really interesting to like do, and it's cool because you don't feel like the pressure of a show, and you don't like feel nervous about playing a show because it's just you and like your band in a room playing music. Obviously, I love playing a live show with lights and people way better than playing in like just a little room with like a camera.
Gia did a performance on Twitch live that went really well. I mean, it had 300,000 viewers at its peak, which is more than she could have ever gotten at any, like she couldn't sell anywhere near that many tickets. So that's like an interesting thing to have to think about.
Playing a live show itself will always be the most desirable, especially if you're a solo performer. It's very much about like sharing the song with a room full of people. I do feel like the live streams are a Band-Aid on the head wound of what COVID has done to the touring industry.
I think they've realized that they can just sort of pivot to a bunch of like high-end mostly expensive performances, and that they can like go on that way and be pretty okay. So I think that those will probably stay as they are for a while.
This is a really good opportunity for like artists who can't get out on the road because they can't afford to tour, or they can't get themselves onto a tour. It's a really good opportunity for them to just get themselves out there. So even if they, like when you go see a band, it costs like, like $20 to $80 just for a ticket. But if you do like these live stream shows, people can invest in like really good equipment to put on these live shows just over the screen.
But that being said, people have come to enjoy them in their own way. So I think that they'll stay around in some semblance forever, or I don't want to say forever, but for a long time. Even when we go back to doing shows, I think I'll always have some function of a live stream set up at the venue so that people can partake, and people that are in other places in the country don't feel left out. If I don't get to the West Coast enough, they can still participate.
I don't see virtual concerts going all the way away once we can do in-person concerts. So I think it is a little bit of a balancing act. I think we're getting closer though.
Live streaming has been an integral part of the music industry throughout 2020 when traditional live performances have been suspended. It has acted as a primary means of offering artists an outlet and fans access to live art throughout the pandemic, serving as a connection point between the two. The expansion of live streaming into the music industry is leading toward a new era in live streaming and the music industry in all.